Welcome back. Another episode of Jays and Confused. We are joining you after the Celtics' narrow victory over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Took a little bit of time off over the Thanksgiving break, so we still have the Celtics win over the Pistons and loss over Minnesota in the rear view. I know on our last episode, we were talking about how this stretch would really tell us a lot about who this Celtics team is. First stretch, we're really up against some high-level playoff teams. We go 2-1 over the stretch. Matt, what is this Celtics team?
Well, I think that's a really interesting question. First of all, I hope everybody had a happy holiday and enjoyed watching the Celtics win some games over some talented teams. I think if you want to go back a little bit further, you can also include the win over Orlando as one of those like talented kind of playoff caliber teams. So we are, I would say, kind of rolling right now, 3-1 against four solid teams. And the Minnesota loss was unfortunate because I thought there were a lot of opportunities there that kind of fell away from us, but I think what I took away from this stretch was the bench was a little bit inconsistent in terms of its ability to produce points, but overall, we now have the fourth best offensive rating in the NBA, which I don't think is something that anybody would have expected going into this season, given kind of the offensive firepower we lost over the offseason and with Jason Tatum's injury. So for me, that's kind of one of the things that I'm like, oh, like that kind of came out of nowhere.
I think some people might have predicted it, but nobody really predicted how we would be doing it. Because coming into the year, the talk was like, this team's going to just sprint up and down the court. We might not even have a center, or we'd have like Chris Boucher starting, and we were just going to chuck threes and not play defense. This team, I think we're still bottom third of the league in pace, and we're getting that offense on like real grinded out mid-range game, ISO ball, half court offense where we're just attacking the weak link on the other side, which usually doesn't result in a top four offense. So it's really a testament to how efficient Jaylen Brown and Peyton Pritchard have been on just getting to their shots and exploiting mismatches, which I did not see coming this year.
I mean, I thought Jaylen Brown's mid-range shot has been a fascination of mine for years. I love that shot and how he's able to get to it. I didn't think he would be utilizing it at quite this level of like, that is his go-to shot every possession if he can get to it. I thought that he'd be shooting more threes this year, or making more threes at least, but he's really found a niche. And then Peyton Pritchard with that short mid-range game, I think has really found something. But I do like that our pace is still low, but it feels like when we have those bench units in, we're able to create some offense off turnovers as well. And forcing as many turnovers as we do, I think is also really helpful for when we don't have a Jaylen Brown or a Pritchard or a Derek White on the floor. And I got to give some credit to where credit is due. Anthony Simons has had a good couple games.
He's had a good couple games. I am still frustrated that I feel like he's the one guy off the bench who isn't pushing it as hard in transition. There was a few times in last night's game versus the Cavs where he would get it on the break, and you could see Joe Mazzulla just kind of going crazy, waving his arms for him to just push it up, get it in the paint, and figure out what to do from there. And Anthony Simons' game is much more tilted towards dribble it back, let the offense kind of catch up to him, and then kind of work from there. So I still think there is room for this team to play a more offensive run and gun style that we had talked about in the preseason. And I think that could be really complementary to what Jaylen Brown and Peyton Pritchard have done this year in their just kind of ISO attacking. So it is kind of exciting that we could see this offense get better, even though we're already at fourth.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting point that you raise. It is like, I feel like I've gone up and down on Anthony Simons almost game to game this season, but it does
Minute to
kind of
minute.
minute to minute, really. Like it doesn't feel like intuitively he has a place in this. And again, that's not taking away from what he does on the court. Like a lot of the buckets that he gets are important buckets, but it does kind of feel like when Anthony Simons is in the game, he's playing at Anthony Simons pace, where it's like with when he's out there with the starters, with the shot creators, it's like, all right, well now Jalen's getting cold and Pritchard's getting cold, and they're not really finding a rhythm working together because it's like your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. And then when he's out there with like the bench unit, those guys are trying to find their energy off of like pushing the pace and defense and creating turnovers, and he's like, I'm going to slow everything down. So it's really difficult to find lineups where it feels like he's just a natural fit.
Yeah, Anthony to Simons experiences time differently than most people. And in
Yeah.
some ways that's good. Like there's been a ton of times this year where it's like, oh, how did he get that shot off? Like he just seems like he's moving twice as slow as his defender, but somehow the shot goes up, and I trust that it's going in when he takes a contested three now.
Yeah.
So there's definitely bonuses to the Anthony Simons experience.
It does remind me of, I don't know, I'm sure you're aware of when people take mushrooms. Magic mushrooms, they experience time
Why are you
dilation.
sure I'm aware? What are you trying to say here,
I
man?
think it's the beanie. But no. I
No.
think like Anthony Simons, that experience, it does give a little bit of like when you say time moves differently for him, it's like he's the only guy on the court who's taken mushrooms and everybody else is kind of on the same page sometimes, and he's just kind of, I'm just trying to figure it out and stay alive right now.
I love that because I've heard LaMelo Ball described as a player who looks like he's playing with AirPods in.
Yeah.
Anthony Simons is like a version of that, but he's playing having just sipped ayahuasca. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
little more chaotic, um, but similar vein. One
Like
thing I
Joe
want
is like get the ball up the floor and he's like,
or
there's a dragon yelling at me. Like that's kind of the
that's yeah, that's not a great review. If we're playing faster, because we've started to go to the Josh Minot is a center lineup a lot more over the last three games.
hmm.
So I think there's a trade off there between do we want to run fast with a Josh 6'8" Josh Minot as our dunker spot center, push it in transition, or do we want to try to gamble on some of the non-Nemise Keita bigs? I think is kind of the lineup question when you talk about pace. So we saw a lot of small ball with Jordan Walsh and Josh Minot playing center over the last three games, but we also saw some gambles on Xavier Tillman and Amari Williams minutes. So curious what your kind of favorite lineups out of those were and what lineups you thought didn't work as well.
I think it was interesting, right? We had talked about going into that Pistons game of what they were going to do with Cato looking like he was going to miss that game. Um, and I think Luca Garza saw less minutes than I expected in both that game and the Minnesota game. And also looking at it like he didn't play against Cleveland yesterday. So I was, I guess, a little intrigued that he's kind of, it seems like, been not phased out entirely, but like he's seeing a reduction in minutes from where he was prior to the Keita injury. Certainly, it feels like. Amari Williams, again, not playing a tremendous amount of minutes. 6 minutes yesterday. He got a little bit of time against Detroit. Nothing impressive. Nothing that particularly stood out to me there. I think it is more the Jordan Walsh and Josh Minot at center minutes, and I'm sure we'll end up talking about Nemise Keita's breakout game, one of many breakout games that he will have this season, but against Minnesota. But I thought that was by far the best performance by a center we've had so far this season, 19 and 18. So that is what gives me the most optimism is if Nemise Keita is able to put up 19 points and get 18 rebounds against a Rudy Gobert-led Minnesota defense. Then I like that as like our starting center. I think he obviously brings like our defense alive when he's on the floor. His rating is off the charts. Um, I think what I like is that the Jordan Walsh and Josh Minot at center lineups just give us so much flexibility in order to kind of give variable looks on offense, of being able to change our play style, of actually now we're going to push the pace. Actually, now it also gives us a little bit more versatility on defense, of we're going to kind of crowd ball handlers a little bit more. We're not as worried like when they take teams that don't have like a star scoring big or anything like that. We're able to kind of force pressure on ball handlers in a way that I think has forced a lot of turnovers. And yeah, I liked those lineups a lot as kind of our second option when Kata can't be on the floor. I don't love kind of having those be our first option. I think we do need a little bit more size. Like it would be ideal if
The
either Walsh or
downside with
Minot was
them
like a couple
was the
inches taller, but
rebounding.
yes.
Because those lineups are great at getting other teams to miss shots, and they're fantastic at running up and down, really pushing the pace. But if we can't get defensive rebounds, we go through these stretches where the other team's taking 4 shots to our one attempt at the other end. And that's just not a sustainable way to win basketball games. So those lineups have been great in kind of smaller doses, but especially when Neemias Queta is out, if we're going to rely on those for heavy stretches throughout games, I think we're going to need to either find rebounding from an unlikely source, or we're going to need to go with one of the less proven centers. I thought Amari Williams versus the Pistons had a really good stretch, played about 9 minutes in that game, got 2 blocks, but also deterred at the rim a couple times. They didn't get
Yep.
Gortat screens. One of them led to a Jaylen Brown foul. The other didn't lead to anything else. But it's just been so long since we've had a big like Daniel Tice who can just clear out the paint when somebody has an open driving lane.
I do like that you're like, first of all, shout out Polish legend Marcin Gortat.
Gortat, yeah.
I like that you call it a Gortat screen and then immediately pivot to, but it's really a Daniel Tice screen.
Well, I know the audience we have.
Yeah.
I don't want to just say Gortat screen and assume
I'm like,
everybody knows what
is
we're talking
Gortat
about.
that much of a bigger figure in the NBA than Daniel Tice?
Well, I believe
in
Gortat
the lore.
invented the screen. That's what coaches and stuff call it, is a Gortat screen. But
Okay.
I don't
So
want to
really,
assume that
I think
everybody is familiar with Marcin Gortat's career,
they should be. And again, shout out representing Poland.
Shout out Marcin Gortat.
Yeah. Which is probably the first one he's gotten in a minute, but he deserves
This is
it.
a pro Gortat podcast. But yeah, Amari Williams didn't perform quite as well in the Cavs game. Only played 6 minutes. Got a couple rebounds. Didn't make like a ton of mistakes out there, but just wasn't super impactful in that short a period of time. Xavier Tillman actually played some good minutes against the Cavs.
30 minutes. And I think I didn't mention him earlier, and I think part of it is he wasn't, it wasn't a bad game for him at all. But like 6 rebounds. Jordan Walsh had 11 yesterday. So in terms of, again, I do think we need to find some rebounding when Kata's not in the game, and I think that's going to end up being kind of a mix of a bunch of guys, but I was hoping for Tillman to pick up more. Again, like playing that many minutes, it seems like he is healthier now than when he kind of missed that extended stretch, and I thought he would be kind of slowly be being worked into the lineup, and he just got in there. And I mean, Joe Mazzulla's lineups and the minutes that he assigns per, like, on a game-to-game basis are wild and impossible to predict.
Very true. I think Xavier Tillman, his biggest barrier is the knee injuries. And a lot of times with knee injuries, when it's bone on bone, it's just about kind of managing that inflammation. So this is what he looked like in preseason, and the first few games of the season was a guy who could, play some competent minutes. Not a world beater, not like you want this guy as your starting center, but like a useful rotation big. And then the deeper we got into the season, it seemed like the less mobile he was getting, the less kind of willing to run and jump he was. And then after taking like 3 weeks off, he comes back and has this game where he's diving on the floor and is able to keep up with guys on defense. So that just might be his role for the Celtics team this year if he's still managing that knee injury, is just a guy who can, when Cade is out, come in and play big minutes. But for 2 weeks is a DMP coach's decision. Which right now we're beggars not choosers when it comes to center rotation guys. So any minutes we can fill in on a Neemias Queta out with injury management night is minutes we're going to take.
I was going to say, how do you feel about how that kind of affects on a game-to-game basis? It seems like we had kind of built a little bit of offensive familiarity with Luka Garza, and then seeing him kind of shifted out of the lineup relatively quickly. Do you think if Xavier Tillman is able to, and again, I've done a mea culpa already this season. I came into the season a Xavier Tillman believer, and then he obviously was really struggling to start the season. If he's able to have these stretches, maybe not consistently, maybe not every game this season, but if he's able to kind of come in there and play like big minutes as like a backup big or something like that and stay in front of guys and kind of address those things that he was struggling with, do you see a need to kind of like keep finding minutes for Luka Garza somewhere?
I would expect Luka Garza to have more minutes than Xavier Tillman for the rest of the year, just because I don't trust Xavier Tillman to be 100% healthy night in and night out. I don't think his issue is any sort of like learning to play defense or learning to fit in with this system issue. With Xavier Tillman, it's really just about staying healthy and being mobile on the floor, which he's kind of proven he isn't able to do for long stretches of the season. So if he's able to give us one of these nights every 4 or 5 games, and then he's just kind of on a backbench resting the rest of the time, I'm kind of cool with that the rest of the year. I think the stretches we'll really need him are like right now in the season where, we have 5 games and 7 nights coming up. The later in this, because of how the schedule's changed and them kind of condensing all these games at the start of the year, after a month from now, the season's going to get much more spread out where guys have more time to rest. So I think resting Luka Garza on tonight and then having him for this 5 games and 7 nights and having him for back-to-backs and having Neemias Queta be able to rest this game is going to be kind of huge for that stretch where Xavier Tillman will be the DNP, and then those guys can kind of come in fully healthy, ready to contribute.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's about finding minutes for Luka Garza. Like, if we had a center who was just better than Luka Garza, I don't think he's like a development guy we really need to like shovel minutes to. But I do think there's going to be nights where he's just our best option at center.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. And again, I want to see more of Amari Williams. It looks like Neemias Queta isn't going to be playing every game, as he's kind of we're I think justifiably being a little careful with him coming off of whatever happened in that game where he had to leave early. But I do like that we have a little bit more optionality, that we're willing to, first of all, play those small ball lineups with Minot and Walsh and kind of showcase those guys and let them develop in different roles, but also just being like, oh, hey, who's healthy tonight? Who's like, also depending on what we need, it feels like Xavier Tillman has a little bit more, if he's healthy and mobile, is a little bit more of a defensive stopper sometimes than Luka Garza, but Luka Garza sets those just wicked screens on offense. And now Amari Williams being included in that mix, and the Gortat screens that he can include. Gortat famously also, just one more quick shout out, nickname the Polish Hammer. Fantastic. But yeah, I wanted to ask you what you think about some of the guard development that we've had in recent games. Peyton Pritchard obviously had a huge performance last night. Just wanted your thoughts on kind of how him and Derek White, and if you want to include Jaylen Brown in that, in the last 3 games, what you've seen from them and kind of what you expect, what if there's anything that you took that you think is going to kind of translate going forward.
Yeah, I think over the season we've seen mostly Peyton Pritchard and Jaylen Brown, but to some extent Derek White too, just get a lot more comfortable being, first and second options on the floor when to start the season it did seem like they were kind of uncomfortable with what their shot diet was, where now they're the guys who have to be in charge of the offense when they're out there. Now they're the guys that have to take the more contested shots. They're getting the better defense. The one issue that he seems to be running into is I think the refs just hate him.
The refs
Like,
hate
he
Jaylen Brown.
is having a tough stretch getting calls. And part of it's just like he's gotten so strong that guys are bouncing off him. And it's really rare for, a 6'7", call him a shooting guard or a small forward, to be in that position where we would see this with like a LeBron or a Shaq sometimes, where because they were so strong, they didn't get calls. And Jaylen's doing a similar thing where when he goes to the basket, there was plays against Minnesota where he was just moving Julius Randle out of the way. And Julius Randle's a big guy. So to just be able to kind of casually move power forwards with your shoulder has been huge for his ability to get to the rim. But I do think it's costing him some calls. And I wonder if kind of the next level to his game is being able to do like a kind of a Trey Young or a SGA, where when they go up, they're like intentionally tangling their arms with the guy. And Jaylen Brown is actually going for the basket every time, which is the other reason it's frustrating, is because he's going to score and getting hit with guys and just no calls. So yeah, loved what I've seen from those guys. And I think they're just getting better game by game.
Yeah, and I think SGA is a good comp, especially because he thrives in that mid-range area as well. And he's really figured out, I wonder if Jaylen, not just going to the basket, but in that mid-range area, if he can learn how to do that, draw that SGA foul on the pull-through.
I think
And
Jaylen Brown's been getting a ton of fouls in the mid range because it's that rule of verticality that he was talking about earlier in the year, where I know the Celtics sent in a bunch of videos to the league office this offseason, where
about
if you get
closing
into
space.
if you get into the mid range and you go up straight, if the guy touches you at all this season, then it's a foul. So you can see him get in there, try to get the guy to jump or lean into his space, and then go straight up and shoot. And that's been super effective to, get fouls, but also just to get good looks for him. The real issue is when he goes to the rim and there's like 3 guys draped all over him, and then he either makes it or misses it. Like there's no
Yeah,
rim
he's ended
fouls for
up on the
Jaylen this year.
floor with no foul being called more than anybody
So
else, I
many
think, this year.
times. Yeah.
I do think yesterday's game was a very good kind of showed an evolution in the sense of, and this is something that I had commented on earlier in the year, of like his kind of shot to points scored ratio was very kind of 1-to-1. It seemed like I was looking for more kind of versatility and like, can we get more free throws? Can we like on fewer shots kind of find ways to score more? Yesterday had a bad shooting night from the field, was 3 of 13, but got to the free throw line 16 times. And if Jaylen Brown is just able to do that, I think that's a development that we saw in Jason Tatum's career of when he figured out like, oh, I can just go get free throws. That really opened up his game in other ways. So I think it's exciting to see Jaylen kind of developing in that sense. And then I wanted to talk to you about Jaylen Brown's passing has kind of, I mean, yesterday he got a triple double, we all know. But it seems like it's been a trend where even the game before that, I think he got more assists than he averages. He usually kind of hovers around that like 4, 5, 6 range. And it seems like he's figured something out within this offense, or he's just trusting guys more and they're hitting shots. But wanted to see what you thought about that and if that's kind of a trend that can continue.
Yeah, and a lot of it goes with his diversification of his offense, where he's getting shots from different places, but I think he also understands the gravity he has now. And when he dribbles into the mid range and there's immediately two guys there, he's just doing the simple flip pass. Like a lot of the assists he got over the last three games haven't been some sort of like fancy drive and kick or like bounce pass between three guys. He had one kind of fancy one to Hauser in the corner last night where it was almost a turnover, but Hauser was able to like balance, grab, and shoot all
That
in
was
one
a
motion.
crazy shot by Hauser.
Yeah, his balance is insane on some of the shots he takes. But I think it's a similar thing we saw to Jason Tatum, where his playmaking's really developed as a necessity of being the go-to guy with the ball in his hands. And it started with him just knowing when two guys were on him and flipping it to the nearest guy to see what happens. Um, so what really excites me is just being able to see Jaylen Brown kind of grow into this number one role, and then what that's going to look like when Jason Tatum comes back. And we kind of have two guys who can share the offensive load, or we can go through stretches where either one of them's on and off the floor at one time. Because in the past, it's been a lot of Jason Tatum runs the offense, and then there's kind of a offense by committee with Derek White or Drew Holiday kind of running up the floor to set up Jaylen Brown. But if Jaylen Brown can kind of be an offense onto himself come next year, I think this is a much more dangerous team.
Yeah. And I think that's not even factoring in that Derek White has looked good, not great in some of these games with his shooting performances, but he does still seem to. I mean, Derek White is he's solid. He's relentlessly solid. But really,
His
Pritchard,
blocks are still
yes.
insane. Like Derek
And
White hasn't stepped up as big as maybe we thought he would on offense, but he's still Derek White. Like he's still getting insane chase down blocks. His value defensively, just knowing where to be at all times, super valuable to any lineup. And then his outside catch and shoot, he fits with anybody. Right?
yeah. And I think that's another element of Jalen has been taking on like this crazy offensive load and finding ways to kind of be the number one and create an offense through himself. He also got like 5 steals last night. Like Jalen is
Yeah.
also hustling hard on defense, and I love that. I do feel like there's some kind of infectious energy from having. It's been a while since they've had young guys hungry to prove themselves, playing with as much intensity on defense as like a Minot and a Walsh, and it does kind of feel like that's rubbing off on everybody. And having kind of like defensive stalwarts like like Derek White, I think is really helping with that. But offensively, I feel like you factor in the consistency of Derek White, and then once Jason Tatum comes back, him and Jalen both being able to kind of carry an offense. It feels like Peyton Pritchard being able to just go off for 40 in a night, it just becomes like an incredible tool to have in your bag.
Yeah, Peyton Pritchard's gotten better every year of his career, so it's no surprise like adding him to the starting lineup. His scoring hasn't taken a huge leap this year, but his ability to be a starting point guard, hold up on defense versus starting guards, and also just be the guy who initiates the offense has been huge for this team. And I expect as he continues to get more comfortable in that role and kind of solidify himself as a starting point guard in this league, um, yeah, he's another one that really excited to see what he's like next to Jason Tatum come next year. Do you want to do your Nemise Keita? I know you were pretty
You
excited
read
about
my
that game.
mind.
Yeah.
Yes. So Nemise Keita, 19 points, 18 rebounds against Minnesota, against a team that has size, has physicality, and again coming off of like tweaking something where he's been kind of he missed games, kind of we're resting him, we're being careful with him. Does this game, I want to say, does it give you any information that you didn't already have about Neemias Queta's potential? Or does it do anything to kind of solidify, like, should this guy be considered, like, let's extend him and pencil him in, pen him in as, like, this is our starting center, kind of going forward, as long as he's healthy, as long as he's available, like, this is the guy that we want at that spot?
I think my biggest question with Neemias Queta, and the one that's answered to some degree, is just how many minutes can he play? And we've seen throughout the season his cardio get better, where the first few games he was playing like 18, 20 minutes and just seemed gassed. Because when he's out there, to his credit, he is playing hard the entire time. And whenever play stops, you see him as like the guy bent over, breathing heavy, just like sweating. So this was one of the games where he played 30 plus minutes and kept that same level of energy throughout his entire run out there, just grabbing boards. Him and Jalen seem to have developed a better chemistry, which I found interesting because Jalen's never been a great lob passer, but it seems with Queta, he can just kind of like dump it off to him on the roll, and he's
Yeah.
starting to trust that Queta will make the right decision and be able to like spin past his guy or pass it out of that short roll, which set him up for a lot of those just like easy dunks that got him to 19 points and got Jalen the 8 assists. So I think the two questions that it's being answered with Neemias Queta for me are just he can play heavy minutes and him and Jalen Brown having this chemistry. It would I don't want to pen him in for a starting center spot, but it would be tough for us to get a better center on this team this offseason than a Neemias Queta. Um, so yeah, I'm happy with him as starting center. Before the Minnesota game, I did get a little Joe Mazzulla conspiracy brained
Yeah.
because Joe had been putting guys as available and then having them out for the game as injured. Given his ankle and the fact that Amari Williams traveled with the team to Minnesota, I thought we were going to have one of those, and I bet all of Neemias Queta's unders, which he broke that bet within the first minute of the game. So it was the best $12 I've ever lost.
Yeah. And we've successfully disproven any allegations against Joe Mazzulla, so I think that's really what matters.
I don't know if I'll go that far, but I will happily pay $12 for Neemias Queta to almost pull a 2020 game.
Yeah, so going forward, you heard it here first. Jeremy will be putting $12 on Neemias Queta's unders every game, and we can expect him to probably be en route for, I would say,
All-star
definitely like
season.
an all-star team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think the fact that he's been as willing as he has this season, I think when you see some guys who, when they're given a greater opportunity on a team, they stick to kind of what they're comfortable with. And I think one of the things that has been most impressive about Neemias Queta is the way that his game has grown exponentially throughout the season, that he's gotten more comfortable. It's not just like, I'm only going to take dunks or anything like that. He's started to move away from the basket and take those little hook shots and kind of find more offensive, like find more ways to impact the game with the ball in his hands from further and further away from the rim, which I think if he can continue doing that, he's shown some passing aptitude in the past and didn't show it in that Minnesota game, didn't have any assists, but I think like he's a guy that really fits that mold, the kind of like Derek White mold that I think this Celtics team kind of embodies in a way of like, we're going to play really hard on defense and we're going to always try to like make the right play. I think Neemias Queta he's never going to try and do something crazy flashy. We saw how much had to go right for him to attempt a three this season.
His 3-point shot's downloading. Like I still believe that's a part of his game we're gonna see just because of how well he shoots from the free throw line and his touch around the basket. Like it seems like something he's working on that would be huge for his game.
I think buffering would be a better term than downloading, but it'll eventually the internet will catch up and he'll get it up to speed. But yeah, I mean, loved that performance. And again, just like the difference statistically when he's on the court, our defense is elite. And so finding ways to, and again, I think Jalen has shown, I think that shovel pass will be more effective for Jalen than his lob pass will ever be. But when Jason Tatum gets back, he is a guy who can throw lobs very effectively. And so I'm very excited to see that chemistry develop, which might take some time, but I think will be a very, very potent combination down the road. So that's my little Nemes Keita. I did a happy dance after the Minnesota game.
And Tatum's always loved playing with just a rim protector big. Like, him and Rob Williams were always great together just because he likes to be able to gamble on defense and have that back line. And then also just have a guy in the dunker spot for drives is big for Jason Tatum. The last guy I think we need to talk about is Jordan Walsh. Started in 8 straight games. Last night versus the Cavs, hit a career high points, rebounds, and minutes played. He's become a much bigger part of this team going forward. And one thing I asked you to do before this podcast is I think we need a better nickname for Jordan Walsh. Right now we have Walshy and the Garbage Man. Which I think
with Walshy, because we need to have a conversation. That
probably
is
his parents. I don't know.
Lazy
it's a pretty
and
easy
weak.
nickname.
It's not good. Yeah.
And the Garbage Man, he doesn't play garbage time anymore. You know, he's part of the starting lineup. So it feels wrong to call him that. So I spent too much time on this, coming up with nicknames for Jordan Walsh. So I have a few. I do want to remind the audience, since this is audio medium, that I am a bald man and I can make bald jokes.
Okay.
I want that to be very clear.
I'm already so excited to see where this is going.
Solidarity on this channel.
Here, Jason confused. We know bald.
We know bald guys. So love Jordan Walsh, all in good fun. Do you want to start us off with some of yours?
So I'll lead off with one, and then I want to hear your one, and then we'll go back and forth. So I want to preface this. Now, I'm an American. I love this country.
Great place to start.
And I think as Americans, hopefully we can all agree that anybody who betrays this country is a bad guy. I don't in any way support anything that the Confederacy did. I thought they made a lot of bad decisions. Bad. However, I can't stop thinking about... So Stonewall Jackson was a Confederate general who's known for, he just... Fighting him was like trying to move a stone wall. Oh. So what I came up with was Stone Walsh Jordan. And I have not been able to get that out of my head. He's a stone wall. Like, you can't move him. Walsh. Stone Walsh Jordan, yeah.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, that was the first one that came into my head, and the one that I've since been like, is this worth even saying? But like, it's just watching him play defense, I can't get the image out of my head.
Stone Walsh Jordan. Yeah, there is like the Confederacy thing,
which I don't love. I hate it.
Yeah, that's fair. I wish he had been a general for the North.
If he had, this whole thing would be much.
If he would feel better into it, that's what I would have told him to do.
I would have said, "Hey, you're on the wrong side here."
Stonewall Jackson. Maybe reconsider your side. Okay, I'm gonna give you some like normie ones, and then they're gonna get more unhinged as I go.
Okay.
The Walsh cycle.
Okay.
Walsh sauce. The long arm of the Walsh.
I like the long. That one's really good.
Slippery when Walsh.
Nope.
Nope.
Absolutely not. Nope.
Is it the imagery of Jordan Walsh being slippery that you don't like?
I think it's everything about it. It does kind of, it's giving like wet floors. Why is the floor wet? And it's like either a bunch of sweaty dudes just fell on the floor, or it's his all-female fan club. And it's a whole different thing.
Okay. When Jordan Walsh has an all-female fan club, we'll We'll send him that name.
The slippery when Walsh girls, yeah.
The effort egg, chaos tadpole,
Chaos, Chaos Tadpole is really good.
shamrock stretch arms,
Shamrock stretch arms, okay.
garden Gumby,
Mm-hmm.
the glare.
The glare, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think of him as having an elite level glare in the NBA.
The great chrome hope.
Okay.
And then I also had the chrome merchant.
The Chrome Merchant. And this is a play on his
Chrome dome.
Chrome Dome. Okay.
Yeah.
I will say I have seen one that I thought I can't. So I do have a little bit of hair. So I wasn't sure how comfortable I felt leaning into this, but then you went
Flowing
with
locks.
So
over there.
yeah, I do have flowing locks. But Nair Jordan was one of the ones that did make me laugh. It hurts because it's like it feels weird because he's not just bald, like he has alopecia.
Yeah.
So it's like this isn't a he chose to shave his head thing, but Nair Jordan did make me laugh.
That one's a little weird just because Jordan was also bald.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I will say I did have one other one that I enjoyed, which was the Scrap Dragon.
Scrap Dragon's good.
I like Scrap Dragon a lot. I think like off of that list, just intuitively, the one that like resonated with me was Chaos Tadpole. I think that's gonna be the one that like every time I watch him play, I will find it difficult to get that one out of my head. I don't know that that one's gonna catch on as like a something you chant at games, but like for us, I think it's perfect.
Perfect. Yeah.
Please
I don't know
let us know
is
what you
about
guys
his
think.
game that reminds me of a tadpole, but it's there, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, he's
I assumed it was
back
his,
and forth.
I assumed
you
it
know?
was like his head, like when you think of a tadpole, and then he's just long and kind of like moves. He does move pretty
He
fluidly.
moves
I think that's fair.
back and forth a lot.
Yeah, and he's guarding a lot of ball handlers, so he's always kind of like wiggling. I get it. I see it. Yeah,
He's tadpole-like. He's chaotic and tadpole-like. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay. So, what was your favorite out of that list?
I did like Chaos Tadpole. I also liked Garden Gumby. I don't know if you have an image in your head of what Gumby looks like, but
yeah, 100%.
It's kind of spot on.
I think one of the things
Slippery
that's
when Walsh was also one that's just fun to say.
it is. I think my thing with I think the Celtics are at a unique place where we have an iconic arena or stadium or court that we play in. Like TD Garden is known around the league. It's like Madison Square Garden. I think part of it is there's other gardens and that sucks. It's also just like I've heard of nickname like when we were coming up with them for Ugo, I had thought of like the Garden Guardian or something like that. And I think it just does kind of make me think of garden gnomes, and that's just unfortunate. I think it takes away from some really quality nicknames. Because I like the Gumby thing a lot for Jordan Walsh.
Yeah, Shamrock stretch arms. Like I feel like he's just so long.
Yeah,
That should be part of the nickname. I did feel bad making these just because Hugo's were like a lot cooler. Like we definitely did.
That's
like
why I was like the
complimentary
Scrap Dragon
nicknames.
was like my cool nickname for him.
Yeah, and then I got a lot more roasty with Jordan Walsh nicknames, which is not a reflection about how I feel about Jordan Walsh. It's just
I love Jordan Walsh, and I don't love Confederate generals, and I came to the table with Stonewall Jordan.
Say other.
So I do get it. I really do.
Last thing I had,
Mm-hmm.
Matt. Podcasts aren't paying the bills.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure out a way
Mm-hmm.
to make money off the amount of niche basketball knowledge I have.
Yep.
I've determined I'm not smart enough to be a coach. I am not athletic enough to play.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to pitch myself now
Okay.
to the greater public as an NBA player PR rep.
Okay, I like this
Okay?
career for
I,
you.
I have worked in marketing before,
Mm-hmm.
and I think if a player hired me, I could do a lot for their brand.
Yep.
So I'm going to
Yeah,
try out a
I see
segment. I'd
this.
like you to give me a player, and I'm going to tell you how I would turn their career around through
Okay.
just solid
Just
PR
PR
marketing
work.
advice. Yeah,
Yeah.
just PR work.
And I think our listeners will know, having just seen this, like the man who came up with Chaos Tadpole for Jordan
Yeah,
Walsh understands how to get guys and give them a great image. So I'm gonna
that's going
go.
in my portfolio.
Okay. I'm gonna think of someone who could kind of use some PR work, who needs to undo a little bit of allegations against him,
I
basketball
don't know if I
wise.
take on everybody with allegations.
No,
Um,
basketball, like somebody who just kind of maybe has struggled sometimes on the basketball court, but could use a little bit of a boost. I'm going with our good friend who just played 30 minutes. Let me hear your PR pitch. How do you turn around the PR image for Xavier Tillman
okay.
Sr.?
Xavier Tillman's a good one because I think he could use my help. Um,
Yeah.
because here's the problem Xavier Tillman has in this point in his career is I think he would like to be an NBA player, but he is
Wouldn't we all?
unable to really play basketball 82 games a year.
Okay.
I think
I'm glad you added the 82 games a year because I
82
thought we
games a
were
year.
roasting Xavier Tillman as his
No,
PR
no.
rep, and that'd be yeah.
I'm just honest with my clients.
I love this. I'm on your side here.
How Xavier Tillman fits into the league is going to be like a Udonis Haslam type role.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he needs to lean in to just going
Lock him into a
full
15-year contract.
plays 20 games a year, but is like the wise veteran on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that role is not usually available to 27-year-olds.
Unfortunately, but yeah.
But here's what I'm going to do. First thing, I'm going to start leaking some stories about how, like, Jason Tatum really looks up to Xavier Tillman. And Xavier Tillman's been, like, a big inspiration through his recovery. Now, I'm sure when Jason Tatum reads that, he's going to be like, this guy's younger than me.
That was going to be my first question.
This guy's younger than me, and we're not. But he's not going to come out and publicly say that, you know? You just seem like a dick.
Okay.
So we're gonna just start putting some stories out
Mm-hmm.
about how he's really like taking all the young guys under his wing. There's a few things, Xavier Tillman, I need you to do for me. One, we got a game against the Knicks tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
We need to fight Ben Stiller. Um, we got to get your tough guy. You need to be starting fights. I think Ben Stiller's a good target to start out with because that'll make big headlines.
Ben Stiller, half of his size, will solidify his tough guy reputation.
Well, if you fight Josh Hart, you know, that's not going to be a national story. But if you fight Ben Stiller, that's not
Yo.
just going to be a basketball story. That's going to be a big... And you only have so many chances in life to fight Ben Stiller. Like, we only play them 3 times this season. Second thing I'm going to need you to do is a corncob pipe. I'm really going to need you start smoking a corncob pipe, fighting Ben Stiller. Endorsements. I think we could get some good endorsements out of this. John Deere. You could be a spokesman for John Deere. I think you'd be a spokesman for lifting weights with blue jeans on.
Yeah, that one I see for him.
Yeah, that one I see from because you see Xavier Tillman working out with blue jeans on. You're like, what kind of blue jeans are those? Kirkland brand. Also, learn just way too much about World War II. Like, just start dropping obscure World War II facts in post games. You know,
Yeah,
they'll be like, "Why'd you set that screen?" And you'll be like, "Well, the desert fox." In the African theater, I learned that strategy. Just start like
yeah.
off the wall World War II facts.
Which, by the way, Joe Mazzulla would love,
Joe
so that
Mazzulla-
ingratiates you with your coach.
Listen, that's the other thing. You fight Ben Stiller and start dropping World War II facts, Joe Mazzulla will never cut you. You will have a lifetime guaranteed contract on Joe Mazzulla teams if you're the guy lifting weights in blue jeans, fighting Ben Stiller. I think we could see a whole new career for Xavier Tillman with my advice.
Yeah, it did. I did just laugh so hard that I cried. I would also like to add Xavier Tillman, already a father of 3 kids.
Yeah.
I feel like that fits into the theme very well. I think his kids might be too young, if anything. And so you got to get him some photo ops with kids that aren't his, but just older, like some teenagers.
No, we're
just
gonna
like him
get
guiding them.
Photo ops with his kids, but we're just gonna put fake facial hair on all his kids, so it seems like he has like a bunch of little bearded children running around. And yeah, this is a personalized plan for Xavier Tillman. Like this is
Xavier Tillman specific. I can see the corncob pipe in my head. I see him in the blue jeans
smoking a pipe.
I like that
driving
instead
a
of
John
like
Deere.
Endorsements, we're not doing Levi's. We're going Kirkland brand blue
he
jeans.
works on Kirkland brand jeans. You're like, what
Yeah.
jeans could hold up?
Mhm.
Playing basketball, lifting weights? Kirkland.
The John Deere endorsement really came out of nowhere for me. I'm dying to know where Xavier Tillman was born. Michigan. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
They got farms in Michigan. Yeah, for sure.
Well, also just mowing his front lawn, you know?
Okay. Yeah. Xavier Tillman.
So yeah,
I think
Xavier Tillman.
You gotta get like a
free
Coors
advice.
Light in the cup holder of the John Deere. Just like full. I think this is a great energy that you've crafted for Xavier Tillman. And if it means anything, I would immediately, if he did all of this, if you release your PR plan tomorrow, I as a Celtics fan would be banging on the door of TD Garden, being like, "You give that man a 15-year contract."
Yeah, if he fights Ben Stiller, I am going to expect a check in the mail of some sort.
It's tough because I really like Night at the Museum.
It's
But-
also tough because it's a home game.
Mhm.
So I hope Ben Stiller.
So you
be
got to
there.
invite
But
Ben Stiller to TD
if Ben
Garden
Stiller
to fight
doesn't
Xavier
come-
Tillman.
Xavier Tillman's not playing, so he's got to go out and find Ben Stiller.
Okay. And it's like 2 stories on ESPN. Celtics win
It's a
over
story,
Knicks.
New York
And then
Times.
yeah. But like they're running next to each other of like Celtics take one from the Knicks like 107 to 96 and then running right alongside that Xavier Tillman arrested in Queens.
Shows
on
up
the same
at Ben
night.
Stiller's
Yeah.
house.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I
Jeremy,
think that would demoralize the Knicks if at halftime they check their phones and they're like, Ben Stiller's in the hospital?
so
I think that could really
he's not
sway
just-
the game.
He's not just like fighting Ben, he's hospitalizing Ben Stiller.
I mean, did you think Ben Stiller was going to win?
No, I guess I hadn't
Yeah.
thought that. Yeah.
As far
Okay.
ahead. Yeah. So
Jeremy,
I think,
I'm
I
gonna
think
be
we got
honest.
solid plans. We got solid nicknames.
Let us know what you think, everybody, in the comments, but I believe that Jeremy has proven that he would be an excellent NBA PR rep, and I'm
Thank you.
very excited to
Excited.
do this segment again. But
Yeah,
that
we'll
is
keep it going.
amazing, and I'm looking forward to seeing Xavier Tillman on my TV screen advertising Kirkland brand blue jeans while driving a John Deere mower with a Coors Light and a corncob pipe.
That's been all for this episode of Jays and Confused. Thanks for listening. See y'all next time.